Hi, everyone. You guys, we're going to be using the chat a lot during this meeting. So be sure to open up the chat there and go ahead and tell me where you're logging in from. And then also maybe you can put in there what you're grateful for. I, for one, am super grateful to have power because yesterday they shut the power off at our house at like 10 a.m. because it got windy. And I didn't have any power or any Wi-Fi. So I was totally sweating this meeting, but I have power. So I'm grateful for that today, in addition to my horses. So we have a ton of, let's see, Wellington, Virginia, Beth from Nevada. Wow, it's going so fast. Jane from Ontario, Stacy from Santa Rosa. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to have you here. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I hope that you're all very grateful for your horses because we're all so honored to have them in our life. And sometimes we forget that. So having horses is a privilege. Okay, I want to be sure if you guys are all close, get a piece of paper and a pen ready because we're going to do something interactive tonight. I think it's really important that you take action on the things that you're learning. So, not only that you are here and interested in learning how to become an effective rider, that is huge. And I commend you for being here tonight and taking the time to hopefully learn some strategies to being an effective rider. But it's also really important that you take action on the things you learn. Okay, so at the top of your paper, you're going to write my plan for effective riding in 2021. Luckily, it's almost 2021. And we're all looking forward to the end of 2020. And then you're going to write your strengths and weaknesses. And we're going to go through 4 categories. And then a big triangle, which hopefully some of you know what that big triangle is going to represent. And then at the bottom, you're going to write your goal. Okay, so that's kind of the plan for tonight. If you have questions, you can go in the chat, and yeah, I'm glad to see all of you guys here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. I have some slides that hopefully work because, again, my slides got all messed up when the power was off. So I had to do some last minute finagling of these slides. Tonight, we are talking about the effective dressage rider, which is something that we all strive towards, whether you're just beginning in your riding career or whether you're riding at the FEI level, you're constantly working towards being more effective, having more subtle aids, and having the desired effect on your horse. So we are talking at the end today. I'm having a sale going on, a Black Friday sale on some of my courses. If you don't sign up for a course, that's totally fine. You'll still get a lot out of this webinar today. But the courses that I have are a good complement and a good way to work towards being an effective rider. So if you go to www.dressagetraininglab.com/Black Friday, you can check out these deals that I have going on through Wednesday. Okay, so let me know in the chat why you're here. Why are you here tonight? Maybe you're new to dressage. Maybe you're feeling stuck in your riding and like you're not making any progress. Maybe your goal is C, to be more effective rider in 2021. Maybe it's cold and dark outside, so that's why you're here tonight. So go ahead and let me know in the chat why you're here. Okay, we have some C's. Let's see, stuck at second level. Camilla stuck at second level. A, C for sure. Olson, all the above. Okay, well, I'm glad to have you all here. And my goal, why I'm here, is to hopefully give you some insight into how to become an effective rider. Let me see if I can go to the next slide. Sometimes there's a little delay when I ask for the next slide for some reason tonight. Okay, so what is an effective dressage rider? Clearly, both of these riders, the rider on the left and the rider on the right, are having an effect on their horse. So we've all seen people that are kicking and spurring and their horses running sideways and the horses wringing their tail. And that person is an effective rider for sure. But really, what do we mean by what is an effective rider? And the photo on the right, that's Catherine Dufour, and she's just a beautiful rider. And what makes her so beautiful is that she has really soft and subtle aids, and it pretty much looks like she's doing nothing. It's like the horse is just reading her mind and performing these very complicated movements. So that's what I think of when I think of an effective rider, is a rider that looks like they're not doing anything. And it's really important to have that image in your mind. I always try to, when I go to the horse show, I watch the really good riders. I watch Stefan Peters and I watch Catherine Dufour, because having that picture in your mind of what an effective rider is super important. So we're going to start off with the object and general principles of dressage. And these are some little vocabulary words from the FEI definition. It's important to keep this in mind. So one is a happy athlete. We want our horses to be happy. We want them to be willing partners. We don't want them grinding their teeth and wringing their tail. We want harmonious education. So it's important that you are educating your horse to provide this image of harmony. We want our horses to be calm, supple, loose, and flexible. We want them confident, attentive, and keen. We want freedom and regularity of the paces. So as we train our horses, we want the gaits to become free and elastic and supple. We want harmony, lightness, ease of movements, lightness of the forehand and engagement of the hindquarters, acceptance of the bit with submissiveness and throughness, confident and attentive, submitting generously to the control of the athlete, remaining absolutely straight in any movement on a straight line and bending accordingly when moved on curved lines. So that's just some vocabulary. And again, when we think of being an effective rider, it's so important to remember that we want our horses to be happy in their work. We want them to enjoy what they're doing. And we want to really teach them step by step what's expected of them and develop their body so that they can do what we want them to do. We don't want to just force it upon them. Okay, so here's where your pen and paper come in handy. We're going to go through four categories for looking at your strengths and weaknesses. So you guys can write these down as you go, and then you're going to rank yourself from 1 to 10. And try to be honest about ranking yourself. This is just for you. You can share in the chat if you want, but you don't have to. So category number 1 is rider position. So you're going to rate your position from 1 to 10. Some things to consider, first of all, is that only a rider in the correct position can make the correct aids. So if you want to be effective, you have to work on your position. So how is your alignment? Do you keep that nice ear, shoulder, hip, heel alignment all the time in the canter when things get difficult? Or do you tend to tip forward or get too far back? Another thing to consider is the straight line from your elbow to the mouth. Do your hands get too high? Do you straighten your arms and, brace in your arms? Do you want to go indirect with the rein? Another line to consider is the straightness. Do you sit straight on your horse, or do you tend to lean over to the side or collapse on one side or another. So all of those things factor into your position. And just give yourself a number between 1 and 10 how you think your position is. And feel free, you can share in the chat if you want, or you can just keep it to yourself. I am always striving to improve my position. So there's things about my position that I know I need to make better. I'm always working on my seat. I'm always working on my legs. Working on your position. I know even the best riders in this sport are always working on their position. So let's see, we have some 6s, we have some 5s. Jason's at a 5. Joella needs to expand her right side, 5-ish. Yeah, so, you know, there's room for improvement, which is always a good thing. Okay, number 2, we're going to rate our mindset. So when you're riding, what kind of things are going through your head? Are you feeling fearful, angry, frustrated, lacking of confidence? Or are you mostly feeling like you're confident and determined and like you know what you're doing? You can let me know in the chat what your mindset is. I think it's important to consider this. You know, even sometimes we all get frustrated and we all get lacking confidence and like, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I to be a dressage trainer? But it's really important to change your mindset and to think about having a positive mindset that affects your horse. Let's see, we have Emily's a 2 on one horse and a 9 on the other. Diane's a 5, 6 to 7, 9. Okay, good. So, you know, mindset's one thing you can control, but it's also something you need to be aware of. Okay, the third category, oops, I need to go back, is dressage theory. So how do you feel on a scale from 1 to 10, your understanding of the system of dressages, the theory of dressage? Like, do you have an idea of why the tests are designed the way they are? Do you have an idea of how to train a Grand Prix horse? Do you have an idea of when to ride a circle or when to ride a leg yield or when to ride a half halt? Or are you still kind of trying to understand that? Yeah, so we have some 2s, some 8s, some 4s here, 5 to 6, 2 or 3. Good. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the theory and the system of dressage today. Okay, number 4, this is a big one, is support. And it's so important to have community and support and friends that support you in your riding. This is a photo of me and my husband at the horse show last weekend, and I'm so grateful to have a husband that supports me and friends that support me and family that supports me, because that is really what it takes. And also, you know, like an online community, like we're here, we're helping each other, we're supporting each other. On Amelia's Dressage Club, we're all here for each other. So that is really, really important. And just give yourself a score there. You know, if you're scoring low in this area, you know, help someone out, offer to video your friend's ride, go watch someone else's lesson. There's lots of ways that you can make friends and be supportive of someone else. Okay, so my journey to effective riding, I just wanted to put this in here because I think a lot of you guys see me where I am today and like, oh, she's getting 70% all the time, which isn't the case. But if you, that top photo on the left, that's my first horse, Achilles. I remember riding him and being so excited when I would get a 60% because that was a qualifying score. The middle photo there is the summer after I graduated from high school. That was the string of horses that I rode. So I've rode a ton of horses and they weren't fancy and they weren't nice horses, but that summer I rode like 14 to 18 horses a day, and I learned so much. So you can learn something from every horse that you have, and it's all about the journey. So a lot of being an effective rider is time in the saddle and just riding everything that you possibly can and learning from your horse. Okay, so for your going back to your piece of paper there, your big triangle that you hopefully drew, that is the dressage training scale. And the dressage training scale is your guide to dressage. So that is whether you're riding at training level or whether you're riding a Grand Prix horse, the training scale is what structures every ride. So hopefully someone can comment in the chat and give us the levels of the dressage training scale. So from the bottom to the top, what is each level of the dressage training scale? And you guys should know this like the back of your hand. If you want to be effective in dressage, you should be able to just recite to me from the bottom to the top what each level is. So yeah, Stephanie, relaxation. No. So the base of the training scale, I'll give you a hint, is rhythm. Yes, thank you. Rhythm is the first level on the training scale. So we have a 4-beat trot, a 4-beat walk, 2-beat trot, 3-beat canter. Level 2 is suppleness. Thank you, Emily. Level 3, who can tell me what level 3 is? Yes, level 3 is connection. Thank you, Judy. Level 4 is, now I'm confused, impulsion. Level 5 is straightness. And then at the top of the training scale is collection. So I want you guys to write down on your little triangle here, write down each level of the training scale and then put a big X over whatever you think is your weakness. For me, my weakness is straightness, and put a big circle on whatever you feel like is your strength with your horse. It's really important when you ride to keep this training scale in mind. In general, I think of the bottom of the training scale as kind of the warm up. So in the warm up, you're focusing on rhythm. Suppleness means relaxation. So suppleness includes relaxation. So rhythm and relaxation is always kind of the first thing that you work on when you get on your horse every day, and then working your way up to the top of the training scale. This is a really important thing to know. I remember when I was a kid, I went for a lesson with George Williams, and he asked me to recite the levels of the training scale, and I couldn't do it. So I hope you guys all remember this training scale. Now, one thing to consider is that dressage rider position is kind of before you even get to the training scale. So your riding position is the foundation of the training scale. So which aspect of your riding position do you most struggle with? Is it your seat? Is it your legs? Is it your hands? Is it staying straight and symmetrical? Or maybe it's your alignment. Let's see, Meryl says symmetry, Joellen, rhythm and suppleness, Debbie, all of the above, Emily, hands are too fussy. Okay, so we all have little aspects of our riding position that we need to work on. Now, one thing that I will say is that, in my opinion, your seat is the most important part of your riding position. If you're having trouble with your hands, if you feel like your hands are bouncing all over the place, it's probably because your seat isn't good enough. If you're having trouble being effective with your leg, it's probably because your seat isn't good enough. The main function of your seat is to follow the motion of the horse. So you need to have a lot of strength in your core, but also suppleness in your seat in order to follow the motion of the horse. So just think about that and really focus on your seat. So rider straightness, this is like the typical crooked rider. Most of our horses lean to the right, and most of us fall off to the left and collapse our right side. So this is a lot of us. Every horse is crooked and every rider is crooked. So it's really important to work on your straightness in the saddle, because if you're not straight, it's impossible for your horse to be straight. So a few things to consider: saddle fit. You want to be sure your saddle sits in the middle of your horse. Then when you get on your horse, you want to make sure that you sit in the middle of the saddle. Sometimes when you get on, the saddle gets pulled to the left. So be sure that you get back in the middle of the saddle and your saddle straight when you get on, and then tighten your girth. If you find that you collapse like this on one side, I really recommend, what I always tell my riders to do is to lift their right hand above their head and work on stretching up through your rib cage on the right, and then find your right seat bone in the saddle. And then when you put your hand back down, try to keep that length in your sides. So that's just one little tip on rider straightness. So this is actually a slide from my dressage training scale course, but I like to think of 8 points of rider straightness. So I always start with my seat, getting both my seat bones with even weight in them, and then going down my legs. So making sure my knees are even, my ankles are even, my feet are even in the stirrup, and then going from my shoulders down my hands, and just checking in with this as you go through your ride, that you make sure you stay straight in the saddle. So the aids are what we use to influence our horse. For those of you guys that are in the academy already, we are talking this month about the aids. And the aids are what allow you to affect your horse. So when you first learn to ride, you just learn to follow the motion of the horse. That's really important, that you first just learn to go with the motion of the horse. And then once you are following the motion of the horse, you start to want to have an effect on the horse. So your legs are the driving aids and your hands are the restraining aids. The main function of your seat is kind of the translator between the driving aids and the restraining aids. But again, your seat mainly just follows the motion of the horse. So I see a lot of riders that try to drive with their seat, like try to push their horse forward from their seat. And your seat is not a driving aid. So your legs are the only driving aids. And your whip, of course, but that's an auxiliary aid. So the sequence of the aids. I know I asked you guys what you struggle with, and a lot of people struggle with contact and connection and getting the horse feeling supple and nice in the hand. So it's really important, this sequence of the aids. A lot of us tend to go just right away to pulling with our elbows instead of using our fingers and our wrists first. So just do that right now, and play around with this as you ride this week, but try just moving your ring finger, just a little squeeze on the rein, and then actually bending your wrist and moving your wrist. Don't go right away to your elbow. That's just a little tip that when you see a really good rider and it looks like their hands don't move at all, it's because they've trained their horse to just go off of their ring finger. They're not going all the time to just pulling their elbow back behind their body. I do this too. And I remember one time I was riding with my husband, and he can be kind of mean when he teaches. And he told me that it looked like I was starting a lawnmower while I was riding my horse. So that's because I was just going to my elbow and I wasn't finessing with my reins. So don't look like you're starting a lawnmower when you ride. So another thing that you guys asked a lot about is that your horse is just so lazy, right? You can't get your horse to go and you just are kicking all the time and your spurs are digging in your horse. And at the end of the ride, you are sweating more than your horse. So we don't want that to happen. A lot of time, what happens with your driving aids is what I call the boiled frog syndrome. So there's a myth, I don't know if it's true, but if you put a frog in room temperature water and you put it on the stove, the frog will just sit in the water until it boils to death. But if you drop a frog in the boiling water, it will jump right back out. So you don't want your horse to become a boiled frog. What this means is that you need to ask with a really soft aid. So you ask with your calf, like say you're walking, right? And you want your horse to trot. The first thing you do is you close both calves at the girth. Then I would say I would count to maybe 1 Mississippi. If my horse doesn't listen, I would give him like whack both legs and shoot them forward. And they might canter off or, go overreact like they're jumping out of the boiling water, but that's okay. Because then the next time when you close your calf, your horse is more likely to listen to that subtle aid. So yeah, Diane says, I've been working on this. Good for you, Diane. But it takes time because what happens is that instead of jumping your horse out of the water, right, you might be afraid of what they're going to do if you kick them. So instead, what you do is you close your calf and then you close your spur and then you give a little kick and then you cluck to your horse and then you tap them with the whip and then you kick them again and the horse still hasn't trotted forward. So now you've boiled your horse. They're just a boiled frog and they're ignoring not only your calf, but also your heel and your spur and your whip and your voice. So just keep that in mind, is that sometimes you need to go from like level 1, which is just your calf, say that's room temperature, to boiling temperature, and then back to room temperature. You don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lori says, my lazy boy is starting to figure it out, or maybe mom is learning. Yeah, so that's a lot of it, is that when your seat isn't independent and when you're not an effective rider, when your position isn't right or you have fear issues, it's really easy to create this boiled frog. And people say to me, well, my horse is lazy. But usually you've created that. Like your horse is lazy because you've made them that way. Horses are prey animals. They are designed to run away from predators. So they're not just going to stand there and be like, oh, I don't feel like moving. I'm going to let the lion come eat me. The lazy horses are human made. So it's really important to have an effective leg. And the photo here shows all these hinges in your leg. So we have a hip joint, we have a knee joint, we have an ankle joint, and then there's that joint that keeps your foot in the stirrup, which is right at the base of your toes and going into your foot. So it's really important that all those joints have motion in them. Sometimes I see riders that get locked up in their hip or locked in their ankle, clamping with their leg, and that causes them to have an ineffective leg aid. So just keep all those joints in mind. When you are going to kick your horse, you need to take your leg off, kick your horse, and then take your leg off again. So health and fitness. This is something that is really important. I know a lot of people in my audience are older riders. And I love this little from Amelia's Facebook group, which is someone says, I've been learning dressage for the last year. I'm 47. Is it dumb or am I too old? And we had hundreds of people comment and be like, no, you're not too old. You know, I'm in my 60s. I know I have people even in their 70s, in their 80s riding, which is so awesome. And that's the beauty of dressage, is you're never too old to learn and to get better in dressage. But it is really, really important that you keep track of your health and fitness, and that you do things besides riding to keep yourself fit. So my rider position course, we have a lot of great exercises that help you specifically with your riding position. So if this is something that you want to work towards in the year ahead, check out the rider position course. One thing that I do is that I just try to work out for like 20 minutes. That's all that I do. Well, that's not all I do, but you don't need a lot of time. That's my point. Come home, set your timer for 20 minutes. There's a YouTube girl named Mad Fit. It's MADFIT. And she has all these just easy, great workouts that you can do at your house, no equipment needed, but get your bodies moving and do something when you're not riding to work on your position and to work on your symmetry. And, you know, we just had Thanksgiving, but don't wait till the first of the year to start working on this. Like, start it now, because it will make you feel better. It will make you ride better. It will improve your mood. So that's, you know, do that for yourself. It's 20 minutes a day. I know you have the time. You don't need any equipment. Just go on YouTube or take our rider position course and start working on your fitness now, not January 1st. So yeah, the rider position course, we work with a physical therapist named Stephanie Schwelt. And basically in the rider position course, each week, it's a 6-week program. We focus on a different aspect of your riding position. So whether it's your seat or your legs or your hands, and then I give the riding portion. So I talk through how to work on that aspect when you're in the saddle. And then Stephanie gives you some exercises that you can do at home to work on that aspect of your position. So they're all exercises that you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need any special equipment. And they will specifically help you with your riding position. And that course is on sale for 20% off through next Wednesday. Okay, so what else makes a rider effective? We talked about this, is the training scale. The training scale is the foundation for the theory of dressage. I use it on every single horse that I ride, whether it's a young 4-year-old or a Grand Prix horse. I structure my ride based on the training scale. And I have a course on the training scale where it's a 6-week course, and we go through each level of the training scale. What's really cool is that you'll see how all of the movements in dressage fit into the training scale, because the tests are based off of the training scale, and all of the movements, that the patterns that you do in your dressage are based on the training scale. So if, you know, sometimes when you're in a lesson and your instructor tells you, okay, ride a leg yield, ride a transition, ride a shoulder in, and you wonder, you know, why are they telling me to do that now? It's all based on the training scale. So in that course, and here too, you kind of see at the bottom with rhythm and suppleness, some of the exercises that fit in there are turn on the forehand, serpentines work on suppleness, leg yields work on suppleness, groundwork is a great tool to get your horse relaxed. To work on connection, we have things like transition. That's a really great way to work on connection. Impulsion, transitions within the gait work on impulsion. Cavaletti works on impulsion. For straightness, we have shoulder in, haunches in, renvers. And then at the top of the training scale, we have things like a rein back, a walk pirouette, pirouettes, piaffe, and passage. So it's really good to understand this training scale and understand how each piece of it fits together and when you need to work on what. Okay, this is a great quote from Ray Hunt, and Ray Hunt is a natural horsemanship guy that I never had the chance to ride with him, but I rode a lot with Buck Brannaman, one of his students. And one of his most famous quotes is timing, balance, and feel. So this more or less sums up what you need in order to be an effective rider. So you can write this on your little piece of paper. It's a good thing to think about. So timing is that you need to not only apply the aid at the right moment. So, ask for the canter at the right moment, ask for the flying change at the right moment. But you also need to fix things immediately when they happen. So how many of you guys wait for your instructor to tell you instead of just reacting when your horse slows down or they cut in or they come a little above the bit? So a really good rider has good timing and they fix things the instant that they're a problem. They don't wait for someone to tell them or for it to become such a problem that, things have gone south. Balance is really important. How much seat, how much leg, how much hand do you need? And then the third one is feel. That is a hard thing to learn and develop, but the ability to feel when your horse speeds up or to feel when your horse gets tense, and then also to feel when your horse reacts and you should relax your aids. That's really important. So balance, that's a great word to think about when we think about being an effective rider. Balancing pressure and release. So there's times that you put pressure on your horse, right? When you ask your horse to do something, you put a pressure on them. It's important to balance that pressure with release. So when your horse does what you want, you need to release the pressure. Stress and relaxation. So we want our horses relaxed, but we also need to be effective. And sometimes when you're effective, your horse gets stressed out. That's just how it is. If all you do is keep your horse relaxed all the time, you're never going to, get anywhere. But it's important to have a balance between stress and relaxation. Your horse shouldn't come back to the barn every day dripping sweat and their eyeballs popping out of their head. Teaching versus punishing. So, there's times that you need to correct your horse, but you also need to be sure that you're teaching your horse and explaining it to them. Left and right. You should work your horse equally to the left and to the right. Trot and canter. So, personally, I like to do canter work more at the beginning of the ride with most of my horses. I think the canter lends itself to warming the horse up a little bit better. But again, this balance is a little different on every horse. Some horses might like to warm up more in the canter. And then up versus down. A lot of my horses, I start out a little lower and rounder in the neck. But then there is a time and a place that you have to bring them up and you have to bring the poll up the highest point. Some horses need to be ridden more up in a show frame more of the time if they're built downhill. Other horses that have a high set neck may need to be ridden down low more. That the horse on the bottom there, that's Kensington, my young horse, he's very uphill. And so I always warm him up a little lower and rounder in the neck. So mindset of the dressage rider. We talked about this before, but what are some negative emotions that you have when you're riding? fear, anger, frustration, like you don't know what you're doing. When these emotions come into your mind, you need to think about replacing them with something positive. At the end of the day, you're the leader. So whatever emotions are going through your head, the horse senses those. Horses are incredibly sensitive to that. I was talking to someone, we walk in the barn and we're on the cell phone and we're totally distracted, and your horse is feeling your energy already. Like they know, oh, mom's stressed today. Mom's had a hard day at work. Mom's mad at her husband, whatever. So the emotions that and the stress that you hold in your body gets transferred over to your horse. And I love this poem. Someone posted it on the club a while ago, but the saddest thing I've ever seen is a woman on a horse that does not believe she's good enough to be there. Do not compare yourself. There's only this moment, this horse, your hand, seat, voice, and leg. Define the parameters of the entire world for this horse. What everyone else is doing or has ever done does not matter. Whomever it is that you look up to or feels less than is in turn looking up to another rider, wishing to aspire to that level. So be content where you are. You are blessed. You are your only competition. Just be better today than you were yesterday. Try hard for this horse you ride, and try hard for yourself. Most of all, enjoy this time, every moment, every stride, every cue that is answered with a response. Cherish this partnership. Know that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. So I love that, because so much of dressage is the journey and the partnership and just enjoying. It's not all about like winning the blue ribbons. It's about that moment where your horse is with you and the amazing transition that you have, or just getting to the point with your horse where they trust you in difficult situations. That's really what it's all about. So I have a lot of history in my riding from natural horsemanship, because I had a really difficult horse that was rearing, and I went to a cowboy, and I learned a lot from natural horsemanship. So these are some great quotes to keep in mind when you're talking about being an effective rider. Ray Hunt says you need to do less sooner. You're always doing too much too late. So that's what we talked about, that timing thing. If you fix problems sooner, and don't wait for them to get so bad, it's way better, and you will be more effective if you fix things sooner. Okay, another one from Ray Hunt. My goal with the horse is not to beat someone. It is to win within myself, to do the best job I can do, and tomorrow to try to do better. You'll be working on yourself to accomplish this, not your horse. And I love that quote, because it's so true that your horse is a reflection of yourself. And so that if you want to become a more effective rider, you really have to look deep within yourself and figure out what it is about your personality or about your approach that's inhibiting you from being an effective rider. I know for me, sometimes I can be too intense and too strict. And I need to sometimes just like take a step back and give a little, like give my horse a little space. And I get a lot out of that. And I think that that also sometimes relates to your relationships that you have with other people. So horses are such amazing teachers, not only for riding, but also in how you are in your life and how you relate to other people. So that went a little far, but it's true. It's really true. So effective half halts. Everyone loves to talk about half halts. So I put this slide in just for all of you. First of all, it's really important that before you half halt, you have to have energy, because what a half halt is, it's a gathering of energy. So you have to have your horse going and in front of the leg before you can ride a half halt. What a half halt is, it's basically a balance of all of your aids. So it's a balance of your seat, leg, and rein. I think of a half halt as like punctuation. So a half halt is like a comma or a period. A half halt is something that you do when things are going to change. So when you're going to ride a corner or you're going to ride a transition, it's really important to know that a half halt is not diminishing energy. So a half halt should never take energy away from your horse. A half halt is just simply gathering up the energy so that you can do something with it. Some horses require more leg for a half halt. So if you have a lazy horse, you're going to need leg in the half halt. Other horses require a little more seat and weight in the saddle and hand if you have a horse that's a little hotter. Every horse is different and every half halt is different. So if I could give you a recipe like a teaspoon of leg and a tablespoon of seat and voila, you have your perfect half halt, that would be awesome. But it takes feel, timing, and balance to ride an effective half halt. And the end result of being an effective rider is self-carriage. So self-carriage is this idea that your horse starts to do and stay doing without so much leg and hand. So a horse that's in self-carriage, it's an amazing feeling when you can soften your hand and take your leg off and your horse stays piaffing, or they stay in the pirouette, or they stay in the half pass. That's what we're working towards in dressage, is this idea of self-carriage. So I hope this gave you guys some ideas. And I hopefully Joellen can put the link in there. So if you go to www.dressagetraininglab.com/Black Friday, I have the 3 of my courses are on sale. So the dressage rider position, the dressage academy, and the dressage training scale are all 20% off through next Wednesday. And you can also give these as a gift, which I think is a really cool idea if you have a friend, or maybe you want to convince someone to buy it for you for Christmas. I think all of these courses I know will help you to be more effective in your riding. The first 15 people that sign up, I have hats to send you. I also got some cool hats that say Amelia's Dressage Academy on them. So if you want one of those hats, be sure to sign up sooner rather than later. And all 3 of these courses are approved by USDF for university credit. So the rider position course, you get 3.5 credit hours. The Dressage Academy, you get 1/4 of a credit per month. And the training scale, you get 4.5 credits for taking these courses. So you have to complete them. And then USDF, you submit your hours to USDF. If you accrue enough credits, they'll give you a diploma for their university, which is just so much of dressage is about learning and continuing your education. So it's really cool that USDF has recognized these courses. So this is a photo of one of the final projects from the dressage training scale. One thing that we do in that course is after you take the whole course, you do an artistic representation of the training scale. And then you post this somewhere where you can see it and refer back to it. So in your tack locker at the barn. But the training scale is universal. So it applies to every horse and every situation. But every horse and every rider, it's a little different. You know, you might need to work a lot on getting your horse to relax or getting your horse to go forward. So it's important to understand the theory of the dressage training scale and then really understand how it applies to your horse and what you need to do specifically with your horse to work on the training scale and stay true to the training scale. This is another one that someone else that's taken the course did. And again, just kind of putting all these ideas together into a framework that helps to guide every ride. And when you have a problem, like, you know, when your horse goes crooked, what do you need to work on to fix that crookedness? A lot of us don't have the luxury of having a trainer all the time. So if you're in that situation, the training scale is a really good guide to help you kind of come up with a plan and understand how to put the exercises together. I know a lot of people, like I was teaching virtually a girl this week, and she started riding haunches in, and I was like, but the horse isn't supple, the horse isn't connected, and the horse isn't going forward. So you can't ride haunches in yet. It's really important to understand the basics and how to put those together before you start working on the movements. So this is the curriculum for the dressage training scale. We go over a lot in it. And for those of you guys that have taken the training scale, you have lifetime access to the course. So you can always go back and revisit any of these videos, because we basically, it's like a textbook of dressage. We go over each level of the training scale, and we go through a lot of exercises that you can do to work on each level of the scale. Dressage is all about basics. So it's not like one day you're never going to have to work on suppleness again. It's all about the basics all the time. So this course is good whether you're, you know, just beginning in dressage or whether you're riding the FEI, it all applies. These are just 2 videos. So 3 simple straightness exercises, and then transitions within the gait for impulsion. Those are both in the training scale course. This is what some people said about the training scale course. This is honestly one of my favorite courses. I'm surprised that more people haven't taken it. But let's see. Linda says, taking this course on the training scale has brought awareness to every ride. I like how you emphasize that it is not as though you go through the scale and now you know it and are done with it, but rather it is what has become and will remain a focus on every ride. It is beginning to allow me to be a trainer when I have no one who can invest the time to train him. We will learn together. And I guess just the awareness of all the levels is a game changer. Much wow, so good. So it's really true that learning this training scale and learning the system of dressage, I remember when I first started dressage just feeling like so confused and frustrated. Like, how do you train a horse? How do you get a horse up the levels? And this training scale is really the answer to that. So yeah, we've had a lot of people happy with taking that course. Let's see, Rena says, no matter what your goals are with your horse, this course will help you to understand a tried and true system of training. So I didn't invent the training scale. The training scale has been around for like hundreds of thousands of years, since the medieval times when dressage was, you know, used for military purposes. That's where it originates from. But sometimes we get lost and you know, I think that all riders should take a course on the theory of dressage before they go out and start trying to show dressage. It's really important. So, and then there on the right are some testimonials from the rider position masterclass, which is another great one. And then the academy. So if you guys are, I know some of you guys are in the academy, which is awesome. I'm glad to have you here. But what the academy is the academy is monthly workshops. So we have monthly Zoom calls. Every month we'll have a Zoom call like this with slides. So if you enjoy this kind of a format to learn, it's a great one. In December, let's see, last month we talked about evasions. So The first of the month, I always post videos for the topic. So last month we talked about evasions, and then you work on those exercises, and then we all get together and we have a lecture. And then we also go into breakout rooms, which is where we break out into groups of like 3 or 4 people. And you guys have a chance to get to know each other and to kind of talk through some of the problems that you're having or what you're struggling with. So December, we are working on the aids, and I'll publish the exercises to start working on by the first of the month. And then the live Zoom call is going to be on Tuesday, December 16th at, that's Wednesday at 5 p.m. And then I always do the Zoom call twice. So I do it on a weekday in the evening, and then we'll also do it on Sunday, December 20th. So I'm also offering that you could buy a subscription to the Academy. A 6-month subscription would be a great gift to a friend. So if you're in the Academy and you think it's awesome and you want one of your barn mates or friends to join the Academy, awesome. That's a great idea too. So there's always a million reasons not to join one of these courses. And again, I really hope that you've gotten something out of this webinar. Even if you don't want to join a course, that's totally fine. But not having the time for it, it's always like a commitment. And now's the time to improve your riding and to make the commitment to riding. You're not getting any younger. Your horse isn't getting any younger. I'm always like about seize the moment and don't wait for it. And you will always have access to any of these courses. So it doesn't go away after the 6 weeks. You can always go back and refer to them at a later time. So it's kind of something that's always there for you. So which course is right for you? If you go back and look at your piece of paper and kind of look at, how you ranked yourself with your strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, if you're struggling with rider position, the rider position masterclass is a great one. If you're struggling with rider mindset or support and resources, I think the Academy is great, because with the Dressage Academy, we have workshops every month. So that's really good to keep you motivated. Every month there's going to be new material, new videos, and then also a lecture like this, which is really good motivation over the winter. I think we all get a little depressed. I know I do when it's dark so early. I just absolutely hate that. So doing something like this and working on learning about dressage and meeting other people in the dressage community is an awesome time right now in the winter. And then if you want to learn about the theory of dressage and the system of the dressage training scale is there for you. So these are the ingredients for an effective rider. We already went over all of these. And now finally, we get to the end here, goal setting. So let's just take a moment and let's pretend we're going to fast forward. It is Thanksgiving 2021. What have you accomplished in your riding? Where do you want to be a year from now? And what have you accomplished with your horse? I'd love to hear from you guys. Oh, Rena says, I just signed up for the rider position course. I hope I get a hat. We're glad to have you in the rider position course. I think you'll enjoy it, Rena. Okay, so it's a year from now. And, I always start my goals by dreaming a little bit and, just kind of dream. If everything goes well in the next year, where do you want to be with your horse? What do you want to accomplish? It doesn't have to be a show goal. So you don't have to show to improve in your riding. I think that's really important. And sometimes, like for me, I think that the training is more important. Like, I want my horse to feel supple and loose and with me. I want to feel one with my horse. I want to be able to get on and not be afraid. I want to be able to get on and just enjoy my horse. Let's see. What do you guys say? Beth says, I want my horse to be more forward and willing to move off my subtle aids. Wendy says, teamwork 2020 first level. Want to get up to second level. Good for you. Leslie says, canter a stadium round at 2-3. Wow, good for you, Leslie. I'm not a jumper, but I admire you for that. Sandra wants to play with the elements of the Grand Prix. That's awesome. Meryl says, I want to make progress and advance to first level. Good for you, Meryl. Deb says, improved conditioning. Barb says, a supple and balanced canter. Lori says, be a more effective rider. Soft and supple connected horses. Try to get a 7 on your position consistently. Good for you. Kim says, I want the dance. Okay, so it's really great to write these down here at the bottom of your paper. And then I hope that you guys save this piece of paper, you know, post it somewhere that you can see it and refer back to it. And these goals, you know, we're going to work on goals in the Dressage Academy in January. I always think that that's a good time to set your goals for the year. But it's not just, you know, just dreaming these goals. That's where it starts. But then you have to, you know, kind of break things down, and you need to get realistic about your goals. You need to figure out, like, piece by piece what you need to do to accomplish those goals. And then you've got to start working at it. Okay, let's see. Meryl says the Academy. So the Dressage Academy is a monthly subscription. It's $39 a month. If you sign up this week, you get 20% off your first month. So that's very affordable. And then the other 2 courses with the discount are $280. I always feel like, you know, I want things to be affordable to everyone. I think of these as they're about like a lesson or a clinic. You know, if you go and ride with a clinic, you're going to be spending about that much. But to me, the benefit of these courses is that you can refer back to them forever, and you always have the material. So even after you finish the course, and same thing with the Academy, you'll always be able to go back and refer to the past episodes. So yeah, let me see. I think that's our last slide. Let me stop sharing my screen. So yeah, that's it for today. And I am so grateful to all of you. I thank you all for being here with us today. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. And yeah, good luck with your sheet here. I'm really looking forward to hearing how it goes with you. If any of you want to share your sheet on Amelia's Dressage Club, we'd love to see what you're working on. If you want to keep it for yourself, that's fine too. But thank you all for being here tonight. I'm so happy that my power came on and I was able to be here for all of you, because I didn't want to disappoint any of you. So I hope you have a good evening, and I will see you all hopefully in one of the courses. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say hello, everybody. Bye.
Bye.